Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on for Mike here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Dayton Triangles Team Builder franchise here on Madden 25, one that features 32 Team Builder franchises in this new look Spring Football League. Now, we made it through the offseason in the last episode, and in the last episode, we made some moves, here or there, but I really do enjoy the nucleus of this team, and I think that we can go ahead and make a run, and that run is going to start here in this episode. We're going to play a couple of games, but first, we do have some off-season items that we do have to clean up real quick, such as taking a look at some of the custom players that will become a part of this Dayton Triangles family. And so we actually did have a few custom guys join our team here in season number 2, and one of those guys was the Andre Bazier. Now, the Andre Bazier was a 6th round pick in this year's UFL draft. A 23-year-old rookie out of Wake Forest. He seeks to be, some of these younger receivers that would like to be a part of the team. And speaking of those wide receivers, we might have also found a diamond in the rough in Champ Johnson from Mississippi Valley State. Representing for the HBCUs, Champ Johnson was actually undrafted in the UFL draft. He was just chilling in the free agency pool, waiting to get some kind of training camp invite. He was actually one of those training camp invites, so he actually does have a decent chance to make the team, as he does represent himself as probably borderline our number 3 wide receiver going into year number 2, but I do like his upside in comparison to a Jason Bingham. And then at the free safety position, we know that Denario Allen is going to be the starter on this team, but his backup is going to be a rookie. This is the 5th round pick out of Southern Utah, Chris Gentry. Chris Gentry is only 22 years old, and we had a chance to see him extensively in the preseason, and Chris Gentry actually showed some flashes. While he does have a normal dev trait, I don't expect him to be, really a top line starter. Don't know if he starts in the UFL, but Chris Gentry, what I do know is that he is more than good enough to play in this league, and we're glad to have him on the team. And then one of the last custom players that I do want to mention is Wallace Hoverton. Wallace Hoverton is a rookie out of NC State, and he was the first rookie quarterback taken off the board. Now, Wallace Hoverton could be the future quarterback of the Philadelphia Stars. He comes in as more of a strong arm type quarterback, and he probably will end up being the backup quarterback behind Brian Tucker, who at this point is kind of sitting as a mentor and kind of as a bridge. He's definitely not going to be the quarterback of the future for this team, and I expect to see, at least at some point, Wallace Hoverton become the new starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Stars. If not this season, at least very soon. But listen, we have 18 players that we do end up having to be cut, and because we have all these players that need to be cut, we have some tough decisions that we need to make in terms of who's going to be a part of this active roster and who is going to be starting out on the practice squad or just straight up get cut. So taking a look at some of these lower rated players, I'd like to go off of based on what is recommended, because I do like to listen to his coaching staff. And right away, I think what I am going to do is I'm going to get rid of some of these, like tackles that really have no business playing for us whatsoever, right? So we're going to cut, a Barry Bellin, for example, even though neither guy really provides us with any kind of increase in cap space. Matt Dixon, on the other hand, he does provide us with an extra, $1 million in cap space. So we're okay with, letting him go. Gordon Haywood, while he does have plenty of speed at that corner position, I already have 7 other corners that are just as good or better than him. So, and we can't put him on the practice squad, which at least we can with like Kareem Covington. Nate Rogan, we're going to go ahead and cut. He's going to provide us with an extra $1.5 million in cap room space. And then Adam Judge, who actually played for us sparingly last season, we're actually going to move him on the practice squad. We improved our depth considerably, at least in our interior defensive line, even though we did end up losing a top line starter in free agency. So we're able to make some more of these cuts, onto the offensive line, more than we would. Now, that being said, Gabe Quinnen is an interesting one. So Gabe Quinnen is a second-year player. He is someone that we did also end up finding. He was a rookie that we brought in, kind of as a training camp invite. And with that being said, Gabe Quinnen just didn't make that much progress this season. So we are going to move him onto our practice squad, at least as of right now, just to keep that in the back of our minds. And then a few other players that we'll cut. Terrell Flowers, we're going to cut him as a 62. Juwan Holiday is also going to get it as well as a 62 overall. Adam Fisher, who again was someone that did play for us sparingly last season. Adam Fisher, because again we did improve our depth on the interior line, we will move him onto the practice squad here in year number 2. And then that does leave us with a few more players that we can go ahead and cut. Kevin Rutwin will be a tough cut for us to have. Jamal Torrance, we're going to cut him as well. We'll send him back to free agency. Chris Wilkinson, we have plenty of depth at the position, so we'll go ahead and get rid of Chris Wilkinson as well. Then Corey Roach is another one too. Corey Roach is going to save us some money here to increase our cap space. And then it comes down to a couple of different players, Gabe Beltran or Dwayne Simmons. And I think I'm going to move Gabe Beltran because we at least have the option with him moving on to our practice squad, whereas Dwayne Simmons, we would have to do a straight cut. So I will go ahead and move Gabe Beltran onto our practice squad, and that is going to make up your final 50 free guys as we prepare for the season. I do also have a couple of development upgrades that I can utilize for our team. So Cameron Spencer is going to get an upgrade, and then so does Connor Heck. So we'll go ahead and take a look at Connor Spencer first and foremost. And I really want to have that pass rush. I really want to try to go into the direction where we're building this defense from the front to the back end. And I thought the big reason why we did not play very well defensively last season was we didn't get a ton of pass rush. So this year I want to try and emphasize, working on that pass rush. And Cameron Spencer took that to heart. He's going to get a +2 to finesse moves. And at least temporarily, he gets up to an 81 overall. He's a nice star player for us, a younger guy out of the University of Florida. But then the other person that I wanted to look at is Connor Heck. Now, Connor Heck started for us last season, and while I don't think he's going to be starting for the team here, at least initially in year number 2, he's a quality backup, and we really do enjoy having him on this team. Connor Heck is going to get a +3 to pass block finesse, as well as a +1 to impact blocking. He's up to a 72 overall, which as a backup, I absolutely love that, to be honest with you. Alright, man, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our first game of the season. We're taking on the Boston Mariners, a Boston team that we played last season and beat, and I think we did this on the road. This time we happen to have Boston here at home, so we have one of our first possessions of the season. We'll pick up the first down through the air as we find Jason Bingham in order to go ahead and move the sticks. And that will eventually set up our first red zone opportunity of the season. We're on 2nd and 4. We tried to throw it out to Leon Thomas on the perimeter, but that is going to be marked as an incomplete pass. The pressure did end up getting to us. So now it's 3rd and 4 instead, and we got a wide open man in the end zone. It's caught by Chris Saxon. Touchdown, Dayton! And the Triangles are going to strike first here in season number 2, as Chris Saxon is going to get this Dayton squad on the board. But you already know we want to go for far more than 7 points. So let's see if we can do exactly that, as Collar's going to step up in the pockets, got some running room, wants to fight for the end zone, and actually messes around and nearly gets there. He's going to be marked just a few yards shy. So let's see if this is a Paul Lashley moment. And look at this offensive line. You could tell that our offensive line has improved tremendously. We run behind our first round pick, Barry Alfman, and it was wildly successful there. It leads to a Paul Lashley touchdown, and it's going to be 14-0. Speaking of that tailback, though, later in the first half, we tried to set up the halfback screen, and if Collar was able to get that pass off more cleanly, he might have been still running right now because, I mean, Collar definitely had some blockers ahead of him. Instead, it's going to be 3rd and 6 as we're going to look over to the right-hand side as Paul Lashley is able to find a soft spot in the zone. He's going to make a huge catch. Almost gets his second touchdown of the afternoon, but instead, it's going to be 1st and goal where it's actually going to be our fullback. Our tight end, one of our backups tight ends converted to fullback, and it looks like it's going to be Dominique Christmas. He's going to find the end zone on the ground. It leads to a dominant performance for the Dayton Triangles. We're up 24-0, and at this point, seems like the game is very much going to be in hand. But the million-dollar question is, can we actually come out here and push a shutout as Harold Perez and company is going to get a sack on 4th down? It sets up this Dayton squad inside the 15-yard line, where we'll hand it off to our superstar, Paul Lashley. And this is just too easy. Untouched in the end zone. And at being one of the more dangerous men in football, you got to get a hand on him at that line of scrimmage. Otherwise, he can very much be gone like a girl in a country song. So now it's 31-0. We are pouring it on against Boston as Boston tries to set up a play action, and it looks like we got a fumble on the ground. Harold Perez, oh my goodness, if he only scooped it up cleanly, that man could have had a big boy touchdown. Great play by Dylan Wright and company. That does eventually set up a field goal for the Triangles. We could not punch it into the red zone there. So 34-0 is your score. We still have a few minutes left in this game at this point, as Andrew Collar doing a brilliant job just directing this offense. Over 300 yards and a touchdown to this point, where we'll get the starting tight end, Grayson Heineck. Haven't said him very much today. He'll go ahead and get us closer to the 1st down, and more firmly and more specifically in the red zone. As now, 2nd and 3 coming up. We throw it short to Chris Saxon, and maybe could have been a little bit of a better decision throwing the ball to another direction, but completion is still completion. We move to sticks for the 1st down, and then Paul Lashley gets us significantly closer to the goal line right before that 2-minute warning, where a couple of plays later, Andrew Collar lines up down on the goal line. He's going to drop back on a 3rd and goal, looking over the middle of the field, but Paul Lashley cannot bring it in. And so that means we are going to officially have ourselves 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. And we'll just go ahead and just make it easy on ourselves. Paul Lashley running it into the end zone, untouched. And the superstar running back's going to have his 2nd touchdown of the day. And it was a dominating affair as we open up the season with a 41-0 victory over the Boston Mariners. And now I certainly know what it feels like to be a Carolina Panthers fan, because this Boston team was down horrendous. And boys, to keep it real with you, this was one of those games where it was just as good diving into the box scores as it was on the surface, man. We played extremely clean football, which is exactly what we wanted to do. No turnovers in this game. We forced Boston to have a couple of turnovers themselves. And if you look at every single facet of the game, we ended up winning every single facet of the game, with the exception of maybe penalty yards. Penalty yards could have been a little bit better, but I mean, it's been a perfect game. Hard to complain about a 41-0 victory. And Andrew Collar gets off to a strong start to this season, and while he didn't have too many touchdown throws, he only threw 1 touchdown in the game. He goes 33 for 43 for 323 yards. He is off to an insanely fast start, but that is not even the full story though. We were able to also find Paul Lashley in the end zone a few times in this one. We relied upon him when we got down to the goal line, and Paul Lashley delivered. He has 3 rushing touchdowns to start the season out, Andrew Collar was also able to get a fair number of rushing yards as well. He averaged 6 yards a carry in this one. As for the receivers, Jason Bingham had a big day. He had nearly 100 yards receiving in the ball game, but it was Chris Saxon that is going to wind up with the solo touchdown grab. He ended up with 4 catches and 37 yards, so could have done a little bit better for Chris Saxon, at least from an individual standpoint, but again, it's really hard to complain when you win by 41 points. And a big reason why we won by 41 points is that we sacked the quarterback and we got pressure often. Matt Weaver in particular had a big day today. He had 2.5 sacks. Harold Perez also had a sack and a half, but they were certainly not alone by any means. Everyone and their mama was able to get into the backfield in this one. Ricky Roberts, Dylan Wright, Cameron Spencer, and Daryl McLeod all had sacks. Shout out to Dylan Wright in particular. He was able to force a fumble, and then not only force a fumble, he also got an interception as well. So Dylan Wright had a massive day. We saw Harold Perez get the fumble recovery, which I was hoping he could take back to the crib, but the big boy could not keep himself like steady enough, I guess, which is you hate to see it, but it is kind of funny to see. Ricky Roberts did lead the team in tackles with 8 total tackles, followed by Paul Bass, who ended up with 7. And so let's see if we can build upon this perfection as we progress through the rest of the season. But right after our dominant performance as well, we do get an upgrade for one of our corners. It's Jared Strong. Now, Jared Strong is one of our backup corners, but, definitely feeling himself after the type of performance that we just gave out here today. Jared Strong currently is sitting at a 69 overall, which is very nice. But what's nicer is that he's going to be now up to a 70 with the temporary upgrades as well, because he now gets a +2 to zone coverage. I think that's extremely important because of the fact that, hey, we do play a lot of zone, in our defenses. So having that zone coverage upgrade is important to us. But before we jump into who our next opponent is and getting ready for our second game that we have of this young season, you have an upgrade that we got to take care of real quick. This is Anton Mills, who is on our offensive line. He starts for us over at that left guard position. And while he's a very agile offensive lineman, we do want to work on more of his fundamental skills, particularly the pass protection, because our team is mostly centered around our young quarterback, Andrew Collar. So for that reason, we are going to put the upgrade into pass protection as he gets bumped up to a natural 77 overall, as he does end up getting a +2 to impact blocking, as well as some minor upgrades to his pass protection abilities as well. So let's go ahead and continue our season as we'll take on a divisional rival in the Thunderbolts of Evansville. Evansville did also win their first game of the season in week number 1, and it's going to be a battle to see who is going to remain 2-0 and who is going to be accepting their very first loss of the season. But it seems like Dayton could be on the receiving end of that, as we're already down 10-0. We are off to a slow start here, as we will go ahead and pick up the first down. No, we do not. They actually do not move the sticks for us, so I thought Chris Saxon was going to have that first down. Absolutely no problem. But it seems like instead it's going to be 4th and short. You already know what time it is. We have one of the best tailbacks in an improved offensive line. We're just going to go ahead and rely on those combination of things, and we'll extend the drive. And extend the drive in such a way that eventually we get 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line. And the man that kept our drive going previously, we will give him another chance as Paul Lashley finds the end zone. Touchdown, Triangles. So we finally have ourselves on the board, but can we stop this Evansville passing attack? Evansville has been hot out of the gate, scoring 10 points here in the first quarter. So let's see if we can pitch a shutout here. Gonna be hard to do so because Evansville already finds itself in the red zone, looking for a second red zone touchdown of the day as they go play action. But Dylan Wright goes straight to the quarterback, tells the offensive line that he's too little for him, and that should give our defense some much needed breathing room. As now it's 2nd and 18. Sanders looking over the middle and finds his receiver, who probably would have had a first down if he was able to just simply stay on his feet. He tripped, and eventually our defense is able to tap him down. But 3rd and 3 coming up. They tried to run for it on 3rd down, but nowhere to go for Andrew Hardy. Runs behind our stout defensive line. We're not the best pass rushers, but we definitely can stop the run if we need to. But Evansville will go for it here on 4th down as Sanders looks over the middle, and Dylan Wright cannot break the ball loose. And so that will continue to drive for the Evansville Thunderbolts as they'll hand it off to their tailback. It's got some room on the right-hand side and finds the end zone. Touchdown Evansville, and the Thunderbolts, well, they are soaring offensively, led by an Austin Hardy touchdown. So with that being said, we got ourselves a 2-minute drill on the way, as we'll see if Collar can go ahead and lead us down the field before we get out of the first half. But seems like our own players got in the way because we had 2 guys in the same spot, but neither one of them was able to do much of anything. So now 2nd and 10, we'll throw over the middle to Leon Thomas, who at least is able to make the actual catch this time around, but we will use one of our timeouts. As now 3rd and 4 coming up. Collar drops back, looks around, is going to throw it out to DeAndre Bazier. He's going to have his first career catch at the professional levels, as Bazier is going to help move the sticks. Is now 1st and 10 again after getting out of bounds, throwing to the left-hand side. It's Christmas, trying to provide some holiday season to the Gem City faithful, as Christmas, who had a rushing touchdown in the previous game, also able to move the sticks for your day in triangles, as we might try to go for a big play downfield. We got it with Chris Sexton down the sideline. Bang! Touchdown Dayton in the triangles. All right, back in this thing. It's not over yet. However, with that being said, down by 9 as we move over to the 4th quarter. If Evansville gets a touchdown this drive, it might be barbecue chicken. And giving up this many yards to Austin Hardy on a 3rd and 10. I mean, that's certainly not going to help us at all. So that's going to move Evansville into field goal range. These next few plays might determine the game, as they'll throw over the middle. Greg Sanders had a receiver, but can't haul it in, partially due to the weather. So now 3rd and 7 coming up. They're going to go with the run to the left-hand side. Hardy cannot bounce it out to the outside as he's met by Dylan Wright. Meets him in the backfield, and Evansville will have to settle for a field goal here. So it does keep it to at least a 2-score game, but time is certainly not on our side right now. We are going to have to score quickly. Lashley, oh my goodness, if this stands, this is an amazing play. And I don't think it is, chat. I don't think it's going to stand at all. They're going to call one of our offensive, yes they are. They're calling a holding. Oh my goodness. Takes a highlight reel away from Paul Lashley, man. That's terrible. But that being said, 1st and 20, another one of our stars makes a huge play. Chris Saxon almost scores on a 1st and 20. And Chris Saxon, you know, this offense has kind of experienced some issues, but not because of him, though. And eventually we will find the end zone with Chris Saxon being used as a decoy. So we're only down by 5 all of a sudden. But with that being said, we got to at least force Evansville to just take a field goal. Again, just like what we saw in the last possession, if Evans scores a touchdown here, we are effectively cooked. So let's see if our defense can respond. Is 2nd and short. Austin Hardy going to run up the gut, and he's going to pick up a huge set of yards, eventually brought down by Denario Allen. But that will get the Thunderbolts deep in to Dayton territory. One more 1st down should possibly do it before we got to use our timeouts. And Hardy is going to be stopped right before the 1st down marker. We will use a timeout. And a big decision time here for Evansville. And the Thunderbolts are going to go for it. Can our defense make a defiant stand here on 4th and 1? They're going to go play action. We'll go to left-hand side, but it's going to be broken up. Paul Bass there on the coverage. And our team has a chance to come down and win it. Here we go, 1st and 10, as we try to put together a game-winning touchdown. Galler dropping back, looks over to the left-hand side and finds DeAndre Bazier, who immediately gets out of bounds. The rookie out of Mississippi Valley State able to pick up 6 there. As this particular look could be dangerous, but I'm going to throw over the middle instead. We got Paul Lashley. And just like that, we are going to be in Evansville territory. Less than 1:30 left to go as we're going to try to scramble around. Trying to get guys set up and ready to go for the very next play. Looking over the middle is caught! Grayson Heineck holds on to it, but we had to use a timeout because of an injury to Grayson Heineck. Hopefully it's worthwhile as we'll go ahead and get it out to Chris Saxon. They are playing him really soft there on the outside. They really don't want to get beat deep, do they? It's okay. We can make adjustments on our own. As now we got 2nd and 3. Looking right-hand side. Chris Saxon's going to make the catch, and it's a first down for Dayton. We're inside the 5-yard line now as it sets up a goal line situation. Galler looking to find the end zone, trying to throw over the middle, and wanted DeAndre Bazier. Almost had his first career touchdown, but it's dropped in the end zone, unfortunately. And instead, it's going to be 3rd and goal. Galler looks over right inside. He's got it open. Leon Thomas in the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton. And the boys are celebrating in the end zone. And now we just need our defense to make one more stand. Keep the Thunderbolts out of field goal range. Sanders rolls right, but it's going to be dropped. He's going to be dropped down in the backfield. And now it's going to be 2nd and 22 where Sanders again has some time, but this is not really going much of anywhere. Eventually on 4th and 11, they're going to go for it here. No other choice. One man to beat, and it's Paul Bass again that breaks it up. So a dramatic comeback as Dayton is able to put together 13 unanswered in the final 5.5 minutes of the game in order to come out with the win, and will remain undefeated. Man, this game was truly such a well-played game by both teams. We did not run the ball very well at all. 27 yards on the ground total is something that I do want to work on. I want to be a little bit more well-balanced. But man, did we make such a dramatic comeback in the 4th quarter to remain unbeaten. And we made some big plays from our defense when it truly mattered the most. And that's something I didn't think happened nearly as much when we were playing last season. But at the end of the day, when you have a quarterback like Andrew Collar, you are never truly out of it. Andrew Collar had 362 yards through the air. He had 3 touchdowns as well, and that includes the game-winning touchdown with 40 seconds left to play in the game. He also went 28 for 38 in this ball game. He was very efficient with his passing attempts. We tried our best to get the ground game going, but given how much we were down early on, we kind of abandoned it a little bit more than I wanted to. We did find Paul Lashley in the end zone on the ground, but really not much to report here. For the receivers, though, Chris Saxon had that big day that we were looking for. Chris Saxon did end up with 9 catches at 139 yards with a touchdown. Leon Thompson is also able to find the end zone as well. DeAndre Bazier gets his first career catches. He had 4 catches for 43 yards. Had an opportunity to get a touchdown grab late in the game, but he did drop it, but thankfully didn't lead to us actually losing the game at least. Paul Lashley was also able to have a receiving touchdown as well. And while our defense obviously didn't play as well as what we saw in the very first game of the season, we still saw some very promising things. You know, first and foremost, multiple guys with double-digit tackles in the game. Dylan Wright had 12, and then Niles Cotton, the safety that we brought in through free agency, he ends up with 10 total tackles in the game. But the pass rush continues to show out here as Cameron Spencer had multiple sacks, but so did Dylan Wright and Matt Weaver as well. We absolutely love to see it. And so with that being said, there's some things that we can build on moving forward. And if this defense can at least continue to make the big plays when it matters, we're going to be a very dangerous team here in year number 2. But in a game that had such a dramatic comeback for us here, man, we got an upgrade that actually surprised me a little bit. Nathan Thompson, who I didn't really talk about much so far in this episode or in this season in general, well, he does at least get an upgrade. We're gonna work on his power bank, try to make him more of a, versatile player down by the goal line if Paul Lashley were to ever get hurt. And so we'll get Nathan Thompson up to a 68 for a power back and 75 overall. And while he is behind such an excellent running back, make no mistake, Nathan Thompson can handle business as well if his name has ever been called upon. But because of our efforts in that second matchup against the Evansville Thunderbirds, we had multiple players of the week, actually. Andrew Collar, I'm not too terribly surprised about. Andrew Collar has had an excellent start to his professional career. He's going to play in the NFL someday. I already know that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when he gets that respect put on his name. Cameron Spencer, our outside linebacker, though, because he had those multiple sacks, he ends up getting named Defensive Player of the Week within our conference as well. So complete effort by those two players led us to becoming an 2-0 squad. But that is just about going ahead and wrapping us up here in this first episode here in season number 2. And next time out, what we got going on here, man, is that we are going to be taking on the Seattle Sea Dragons. And it'll be a little bit more of a primetime spot. So we'll play the entire Seattle Sea Dragons game, and then we'll also play the moments of the Orlando Guardians game as well. The Seattle team is 0-2. But I am not taking this this Seattle team for granted, even though we are going to be at home yet again, because looking at the Seattle team, they're not that bad. So any given Sunday definitely could apply here. We got to be ready for it, but I am just so happy that we started this season out 2-0, and I'm hoping that we can continue the hot start as well. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. Hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.